Good Thursday evening, or as we like to say around here, Friday Eve. Welcome to Spicer & Company. I'm Sean Spicer. Lindsay Keith is off for the night. Well, earlier this morning, President Biden had a phone call with Chinese President Xi Jinping. It's their fifth conversation so far in Biden's presidency, and tensions are high. And Speaker Nancy Pelosi is making matters worse. She's teasing a potential overseas trip to Taiwan. That's not going over very well. Congressman Pat Fallon, he's standing by with insight and reaction into where all this stands. And then a stunning new CNN poll suggests that 75% of voters don't want President Biden on the ticket in 2024. Get the hint. But White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, she's not worried at all. We're going to break that down in just a bit. Plus, my take on her new catchphrase that puts Circle Back Psaki to shame. Stay tuned for that analysis. But our top story tonight, moderate West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin. He's breathing new life into President Biden's failed Build Back Better plan. It's being revamped, rebranded, and even renamed as the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. Can you believe that? Has nothing to do with that. It sounds good, but what is it really? Well, it's tax hikes on the rich to the tune of $313 billion, and it pumps $369 billion into the Democrats' green agenda. It also includes $288 billion to reform prescription drug prices and $64 billion to expand Obamacare. And oh, did I mention, it does create a bunch of jobs. We'll give them credit for that. It creates a bunch of jobs. Jobs at the IRS. That's right, a huge budget plus up for everyone's favorite government agency. I mean, when I think of reducing inflation, I think adding funding to the IRS. Said no one. Here's President Biden trying to pitch the American people in Congress.
Look, this bill is far from perfect. It's a compromise. This is the strongest bill you can pass to lower inflation, cut the deficit, reduce health care costs, tackle the climate crisis, and promote energy security. All the time while reducing the burdens facing working class and middle class families. So pass it.
Yeah. The White House has been in an economic spin zone as of late. Earlier this week, they redefined recession, right? Remember this? They wrote on the website, well, some maintain that 2 consecutive quarters of falling real GDP constitute a recession. That is neither the official definition nor the way economists evaluate the state of business cycle. It is unlikely that the decline, even if followed by another GDP decline, indicates a recession. That was a few days ago. Well, the lamestream media got their marching orders. Roll the tape.
The White House is right in saying that whenever the Thursday GDP number, it doesn't look like we're in recession right now.
It's not a recession when the economy is creating almost 400,000 jobs a month. It's just not anything that looks like a normal recession.
A recession is not 2 negative quarters. A recession is when the National Bureau of Economic Research says it's a recession.
64% in the latest CNN poll, they feel that the economy is in a recession right now. Feelings are not facts, right? We all understand that.
But here's the thing. Brian Deese, he's the director of the White House National Economic Council. He doesn't believe this talking point. How do I know this? Well, back in 2008, he was working for Hillary Clinton, and he said this, quote, "Of course, economists have a technical definition of a recession, which is 2 quarters of economic growth. So the statement that they put out about economists not believing this is false. It's a lie. He said it. He's their director of National Economic Council. That's his definition of it. He said it. He just doesn't like it now. The White House is leaning on this talking point that we're technically not in a recession because officially the National Bureau of Economic Research hasn't declared one. But here's the dirty secret. You have to remember this. They don't declare this until a year later. That's the deal. They're being cute over there at the White House. They're buying time. They want to get past the midterms, right? So that's all they're doing. but we all know the truth. The reality is we are in a recession. He said it when it didn't matter, and it matters now. It's according to this report that came out this morning, the second quarter GDP report. It showed, you guessed it, a shrinking economy for the second quarter in a row. That is the definition. It's the definition that everybody's used prior to today. We are down 0.9% from quarter one. But if you watch Spicer and Company, you already knew this a month ago because one of our next guests predicted it. Take a look. Are we headed for a recession?
Yeah, I think we're not headed for a recession. I think we're in a recession. And so it's not inevitable. It's a fact. If you get 2 negative quarters in a row, what do we call that, Sean? A recession.
Well, joining us now is our company, that brilliant man himself, the former chair of the White House Council of Economic Advisors under President Trump, Kevin Hassett, along with the founder and president of Americans for Tax Reform, Grover Norquist. Kevin, you predicted it. I'll start with you. You were right. Biden and economic advisors are still maintaining that we're not in a recession. But the reality is, I'll give it to them. You can say whatever statistic you want, but at the end of the day, if people feel like they're in a recession, if people can't afford things, if they can't put gas in their car, if they can't afford goods and services, then we are in a recession. Does the label really matter?
I think the label does matter, around the edges. It historically has set off things like during the Graham-Rudman-Hollins bill, they actually defined recession as 2 negative quarters because that it kicked in some things. But the bottom line is that the American people know that we're in a recession. The piece up, by the way, it's last fall, I told everybody we were going to have a recession this year because it was so obvious that Biden's policies were terrible. But consumer sentiment is about the lowest on record. Small business sentiment is the lowest on record. The American people know that the economy is falling apart, and the Biden people are in denial. But the thing that I find really chilling about the clip that you just showed is that we had people there that are supposedly respected Democratic economists reciting talking points that are patently false. They're trying to spin America into thinking that these failed democratic policies are working. And I got to say that behavior is reprehensible. Now, I understand that you could have an academic debate as like, what's a recession, what's not a recession. But the fact is that we've had 2 negative quarters in a row or more 10 times since World War II, and all 10 of those were recessions. And so they're thinking, well, maybe this is going to be something that has never happened before. I guess they'll try to convince us of that. But the final thing I want to say is, and I studied recessions, it was part of my dissertation many, many years ago, is the reason why economists don't like the 2 negative quarters rule, which the press has tended to use, especially when there's a Republican in the White House, is that sometimes a recession doesn't have 2 negative quarters, it has 1. Sometimes there's 1 quarter that's so bad, like you might remember during the COVID year, it was minus 32%. If the next quarter had been positive, do you think we would call that a recession? Of course we would, because 1 really, really bad quarter could be a recession as well. And so it's not that people think, 2, maybe we need to have 3 before we call it a recession. It was actually the other way. Sometimes a recession, you only have 1 negative quarter, but it's really deep. And so these people are playing an Orwellian game. It's disgusting to me. It's absolutely disgusting to me. And I would challenge to take me on in the seminar room with a blackboard behind us and try to defend what they're doing. But the fact that you've got all these people who supposedly have a reputation for being professional economists, and they're out there reciting political talking points that are misinformation, it's just disgusting, Sean. It's disgusting.
It is. Grover, today they took what was called Build Back Better and called it the Inflation Reduction Act. I feel like that's like calling an all-you-can-eat buffet a weight loss clinic. There's billions for climate change, taxing the rich, expanding Obamacare. How does any of this combat inflation?
Absolutely nothing in it fights inflation. The president and the Democratic Congress gave us the inflation with the $2 trillion of spending and the increase in the money supply. And they spent a year telling us there wasn't inflation, it was temporary, it would be over by last December, which was a while ago. It was Putin's fault. Are there any greedy businessmen? Because before the election of Biden, there were no greedy businessmen. Then as soon as Biden got elected, they all became greedy, and that caused inflation. I mean, it was one ridiculous argument after another. Now that they've got to deny the recession, they're acknowledging inflation as a way to deflect people from talking about the recession. I'm not sure this is a workable political strategy.
Yeah. Kevin, quickly, what does the rise of the interest rates that the Fed announced yesterday, what is that going to do on the economy and on consumers?
Right. So the thing to remember, and this is something that Grover's been talking about for a while too, is that this recession that we're in right now, which we called lull, is not the result of Fed action. Fed action has just gotten going, and it's with a lag. The reason that we're in a recession right now is that the massive government spending that Biden and the Democrats pushed on us, and the socialist policies which constrain supply, it's inflation, and people's wages didn't keep up with the inflation. Real incomes over the first half of the year are down about 4.5%. And so therefore, output has to be down about 4.5% too, because income in the end is what gives you the money to buy stuff. And so we're in a recession because of the socialist policies of Joe Biden, the Democrats, and I could say supported by all of those economists who just said that two negative quarters are not a recession. They're basically out there propagandists for these socialist policies. So that's why we're in. But now the Fed is tightening, and the Fed is tightening because inflation is running at about 10%, and we're in a recession, but inflation's so high they have to tighten. And so we're going to have a very deep recession that it's going to get worse in the third and fourth quarter. And when the NBER comes out and dates it after the election, which is what they're going to do, they're going to say it began either December or January of last year. And I have a very high degree of confidence of all of that.
Grover, real quick, I've got about 30 seconds for you. If Republicans take back the majority, what can they do in divided government?
Well, they can stare him down and force some compromises. I mean, he wants to add 87,000 IRS agents to go after small businessmen. That's what the IRS says they'll do. And he wants to give more cars to the IRS, even though the Inspector General says they're not using the ones they've got properly. And he wants more office space, even though half of the IRS is working at home. So you're just wondering what they're doing. The IRS does give the union gives 100% of its money to the Democratic Party. So 87,000 more union members may be the real goal here.
I think you are onto something, sir. Grover Norquist, Kevin Hassett, thank you both very much. Really appreciate it.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson. I want to tell you about the Patriot Gold Group. But first, let me tell you that the S&P has already lost $8.2 trillion in 2022. Did you know that? Peak inflation is not even hit despite the Fed rate hikes on groceries, on gas. You know it as well as I do. Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs are warning of another 20% drop. Inflation is winning in a knockout right now. The Fed is going to raise rates again at the end of July. Meanwhile, Goldman, Wells Fargo, and Bloomberg are all forecasting gold to surpass all-time highs. If you want to invest in gold, call 888-936-2373 now. Call the Patriot Gold Group today and ask about their no-fee-for-life IRA. Sounds like a good deal, don't it? Here's the number, 888-936-2373. 888-936-2373 for the Patriot Gold Group.